Hi, Marie-Emmanuelle. It's very nice to see you here today.
Thanks, Guy. My pleasure.
So I have, come across Marie-Emmanuelle some time back, and I really appreciate the work she is doing. She is a professional coach, and especially focusing on team performance. We have been talking for a while about how to improve the performance of teams, especially in crisis situations, which is a particular state. And I am always, impressed and to by the wisdom and the experience of Manuel in this area. And I think you will understand where that experience is coming from when she will introduce herself. And I'll pass on the mic to her so that you can get an idea about her life experiences, which has, I think, shaped who she is today. So thanks again for being with us, and back to you.
Thanks a lot, Guy. What do you want me to start with?
I think the submarine story is always amazing. So you can
Oh,
always,
okay.
it started with submarine and it's finished with submarine.
Yeah, it finished with submarine. Yes. Indeed, I love teams because I've been raised in a team. I've raised in a motley and a very heteroclite family. And we were all sailing together, and that bonded us. And I started very early to work in team, especially when I joined the Navy. And I met last week a man who changed my life. I was in prep schools, and I didn't yet know how what I wanted to do in my life. And he went and presented me the Naval Academy, and I said yes, that's it, that's it. And at that time, there wasn't any women in the Naval Academy, so he said,
I was
yeah,
going to say,
yeah.
I know.
He said, "Yeah, that's a good idea, but there's no women." I said, "What?" I was very pissed off. I shouted at him. And the year after, he came again, and I was off all my exams, and he went again and asked for the lady that shouted at him for the past year, and came in my room because I was an intern and said, "Yeah, go for it now. You can." Because now there will be women in the navy, and I knew that it will be my stuff. So that's how I joined the navy, and I've been part of some wonderful crews, and I learned really how to live together, how to last together, how to perform together, and not one time, but day after day after day, because on ships we sail for several weeks and months, and I've learned how to perform as a team, even if as individual you are not always at the top. It was a huge source of inspiration for me, and I've learned that on the field. For example, I was part in my first frigate. It was an anti-submarine frigate, and I was not a firewoman.
So
Was
frigate is a medium-sized boat.
It's a medium size. Yes, it's a 220 people boat. Yeah, medium sized boat. It's yes, a frigate. It's like this, and you have some day-to-day duties, but everybody must know how to fight against fire. So there are some cross responsibilities to train the boat, to everybody in the boat to deal with fires, and I was part of the team that had that responsibility. That was my first experience with emergency crisis and response. And it was very impressive because every 2 days we were learning again, again, and again how to behave, how to speak together, how to take decisions, how to give your opinion, when not to give your opinion, when to thrive for your opinion to be heard, etc., etc. So that was my first experience in crisis, and after it, and because it's part of the job, I've I've been for 12 years in the Navy, and you are always part of the crisis team. Anyway, it doesn't matter what your job is. Every people in a crew and in the navy must know how to do the job when it's okay, how to do the job when it's not okay, how to perform in normal situation, and how to perform in abnormal situation, and that implies a lot of crisis. And of course, how to perform in war and big crisis situation. So it's been part of the thing I love. Why? Because it's the aim of the stuff. It's to train and to bond as a team so hard that one day when you have a crisis, you know that it it will be different. That's the training, but in some way it will be easier because you played
You
I
prepared.
in French you say tu as fait les gammes.
You played the melody already before. You know you have done the drill,
Yes,
as they call.
yes. After that, when I had my kids, I joined a private company that was doing counter expertise in nuclear safety. I've worked in the nuclear field also, and I've performed this type of crisis on the French nuclear aircraft carrier. I've spent 2 years on it, and but I've studied this topic and this object for nearly 8 years because you have to be very trained and prepared to go on it, and it's exactly the same thing when it comes to nuclear
And
crisis.
an aircraft carrier is an
Yeah,
enormous boat.
I
A
know.
frigate was big.
Yeah,
This is
uh,
super sized.
it's our largest boat. It's 2,000 people.
Wow.
2,000 people. Yeah.
It's from 200 people in a frigate to 2,000. It's 10 times bigger.
Yeah, 10
It's a
times
little.
bigger, and it's the biggest in France. In the US, they have 6,000 people aircraft carriers, but we are not in the US. And what's
And you're
very
sitting,
impressive,
and you're sitting on a nuclear reactor, yeah? I
yes,
guess.
yes, I was in charge of. There are two nuclear reactors, and I was in charge of one of them. Yeah. So, what does it mean to be in charge? It means, okay, uh, we say to pilot the reactor as a team, and means piloting it like a real piloting when it goes okay, when there are some minor incidents, when there are real incidents, and when there are accidents. And you know how to pilot it with basically 7 people when it's normal, and when it becomes to get more and more tricky, how to involve more and more people, and how to deal the emergency crisis with circles,
Okay.
with some people that
Mhm.
are inside, some people that are in the periphery, some people that are outside.
Sure.
Yeah, and and you know how to, and you learn how to deal with several crises, because if there is a nuclear crisis in such a boat, maybe it comes from an external crisis. So you have to deal with 3 or 4 crises at the same times, maybe with the same trigger, but maybe not. Maybe directed towards you, maybe you are just a diversion to go elsewhere. So that's a very complex, not complicated, but very complex stuff to deal with, and I loved that, dealing with that. And after, when I went to the headquarters of the Navy, I also were part of the emergency crisis and response team. Everybody in the army are very familiar with crisis times and crisis trainings because it's part of the job.
That's why I appreciated talking to you, and maybe in our next video we'll go more in depth. Because when I come from the cybersecurity area, where we almost sometimes only believe, we have to prepare, we have playbooks and so on, and we do drills more and more, but also we deal more with a technical response. So that I think there is also a big psychological preparation and impact. While in the cybersecurity, it's a little bit more response oriented, and assuming that if you have a crisis for a week, everybody behaves day after day in the same way, and all he has is a laptop and do his work. But I learned from you, and there's so much more involved in than just having playbooks. It's basically handling the pressure, handling all aspects of the of psychological aspect, also of the crisis, which is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, exactly. Because we are all different and we all react very differently to some triggers. Some of us just don't know how to deal with. They are so stressed and they need some minutes or some hours or some help, etc. Some people just love that and they are very, very efficient. Some people don't want that. So they have some magical thinking. Oh, no, we will go there. No, never mind. We've seen that before, etc. But it's not by saying that the crisis is improving. So the aim is to learn from each people
Mhm,
must practice in order to learn how what is
mhm,
its principal behavior
mhm, mhm,
and how to accept it and how to deal with it and how to go just one step beyond. For example, if that I'm just stuck in a crisis because I freeze, I just have to know I'm freezing. What's the next step?
But I guess people may not always know what type they are initially. And that's always a discovery. But if you are running the crisis team in your aircraft carrier, I guess you have to be so careful for recruiting the right guys to be part of the core team. Or you say, no, no, I will train them, or whatever their background. Why do I have to find the one who is doing well when there's a crisis? Because I had team members in my incident management team which were only good when there was a crisis. They were not so useful when there was nothing happening and they had to do preventive work. They didn't like it. But when there was a crisis, their mental state improved, or they were at their best. So I think, did you in the aircraft carrier had to you could choose the people, or you were given a team and say, well, I have to make that team now able to handle whatever they are, whatever good they are at crisis. I have to make them get better. How did that work? Just by
We
curiosity.
don't choose the team. We don't
Yeah.
choose the
So
team
that.
because everybody must be part of the team. But everybody, I don't speak for special forces, and it may be interesting that you have some interview with some people from the special forces. I know some, but in such a town, because 2,000 people is a town, you have to deal with everybody, and everybody is interesting. And as you said, nobody knows when you will behave in front of a crisis. Nobody knows until you train again, again, and again. And if you have a proper training, everybody will know exactly how it behaves during a team.
He will know himself, and he
Everybody
will
is
know how to
interesting.
behave with others. Yeah.
Yeah. The
Okay.
people who freeze, the one who freezes is not interesting at that time. But if you train him, if you say to him, listen, observe your behavior, know it, accept it, and learn how to defreeze. There are some tricks. These people won't be caught during the first minute in a team, but will be able after to reactivate their thinking and will have another view on the situation. And it will be very interesting and a view that will be added to the people you said that they were very thriving in the crisis. They love that. They are made for that. But they are in the action. And you don't
Mhm.
want to have only people in the action. You also want to have people that are one step behind one step forward or 2 meters above.
So what happened after the time at the aircraft carrier? What was the next step in your career?
The next step is that I joined the Institute for Radiation and Nuclear Safety Protection. It's a public institute. It's for the public, but yes, I don't know. It's not an emanation of the. We are I don't know. We are not public agents. It's a private institute whose aim is to ensure the public health. And we were at the service of the Nuclear Safety Agency to make counter expertise on all the nuclear matters. And we also were part of the National Nuclear Crisis Emergency Preparedness and Response. Yes. And in that team, I've performed a lot of safety and security crisis because of course, we train several times a year in a national crisis. Because if for example, if the aircraft carriers has a crisis, has a problem, and if the problem goes beyond an incident, if it's an accident, it needs all the thinking resources to deal with because it may potentially be a national threat or a regional threat. And we have to assess that. There are some people on the boat that are assessing the crisis, and there are some people outside the boat, technical round, that help them to assess the crisis, but that are doing counter expertises at the same time. And also some people that are counseling the public structures. Do we need to evacuate one town? It's a very big and very heavy situation and counsel to give. So we have to be sure and we have to be pretty in advance because you don't do that in less than 6 hours.
So how long did you stay there, or what came next?
I stayed there for more than 15 years. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yes, it was a very, very long part of my career, equal little bit more than in the Navy. And yes, I've been fascinated by all the human factor, but not the way we use them in technicalities. That's what are all the leverage you can have from working together. What you can do at a team, what performance, what excellence you can achieve when you work as a team. And
Mhm,
major factor, it's why I love psychological safety and openness
mhm,
that you can have to perform as a team is when, okay, you are together, everybody knows why he's here and is tight on his competence and why the
mhm.
others are here and they really know each other's competence and admit it. But when you are very powerful, the most powerful is when you come to the point that what you don't know, you also tell it, and the others also admit it. And when you go to that point, you really can do anything.
Yeah, I think in our next video we'll go into this kind of aspect because you also are basically promoting a whole intention-based leadership product and service. So we can talk about also that. That would be interesting. So what happened next? So you entered into you after the institute. You went.
I
You
wanted
became. I
to,
mean.
yeah, I wanted to go and look for. I didn't know at that time what exactly I wanted to make. I wanted to learn about how we behave, how the other behave, and how we behave as a team and as a collective, as I call team of teams. And I went to a coaching school. For me it's the best, but to a French coaching school, and I learned how to deal with the others' potential, how to develop others' potential, how to develop a team potential, and how to develop collective intelligence. And by practicing it, it turns that my field of preference and of excellence is allowing teams to have that ambition about excellence and performance, and to have
Mhm.
this humility to know them until the point of they know what they don't know, what they do well, what they don't do well, what they want to learn from them, from the others, etc. So that's why I specialize myself in performance, because it's the basis of.
I can imagine bringing so much experience from the institute, from the Navy, in the particular, in some sense, but it touches the basics of
Yeah.
team behavior and personal behavior. Is quite extraordinary. I think you must be the most well-trained coach, I should say, in France, maybe. Because normally it doesn't start like that. I think you had a very unique way about it, and in situations which cannot you cannot read about it. You can only experience in the Navy and in the institute. You can learn only by doing in some ways. So I imagine. So I'm also looking very forward to a little bit more in the next video where we're gonna go. You already gave us a little taste of it. Have you had several stages in the coaching, or how would you qualify your coaching?
Several
Let's say
stages.
career.
What do you mean by several stages?
Did you change direction, or did you do different things in the coaching
Yes, yes,
career?
yes. At the beginning, it was a mainstream coaching, and I wanted to focus more on. It was like team building, team efficiency, etc., etc. But as I worked with team, I realized that when you go to this quality of team building, you always get the trigger of the team efficiency and people that want to win together. So
Sure, sure.
that was, I didn't say that about the institute, but that was one of my major inspiration.
Uh-huh.
One must think that it was the army, but at this civil institute, we were not, in France, there are a lot of classification of engineers, etc., etc. And the people who build, because I was in the defense area, uh, doing counter expertise for people that were actually building our submarines, and that are the most complicated stuff. So that people that are designing and building the submarines
Mm.
sure don't want to have a bunch of people that never been on such stuff and that won't be able to be on such stuff, to give them how to say lessons.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And our aim was to help them and to challenge them, for them to
Yeah.
go beyond what they were actually able to do in safety matters, nuclear
Okay.
safety matters. And that costs a lot of money. And
Mhm, mhm.
if we were like that, individually we were not able to compete with them. But as a team, as we organized to have everybody very, I don't know how to say, very open about what they knew and what they didn't know. And we had a lot of experience working together. We were not only able to challenge the people who were building these submarines, but also able to challenge them, and then understanding that the challenge was worth it. And and it was our major outcome, knowing that these people were going to improve, that this will going to cost them a lot of a lot of euros, but that was for the best. And that's where we were able to do in team, working in collective intelligence.
So if you look back, you explained to me everything from the beginning, and thanks so much for sharing that because it makes so much sense. If you would look backwards, I want to be, a coach with expertise in team management in the most deepest tent of the world. Would you go the same way, or would you go another way if you would redo your career? Would you say, well, actually, the time in the Navy was foundational, and it is so important to start there and then build up from there, rather than go from another direction?
Yeah,
Because
if I
you have done
wanted to be, yeah, excellent question. If I wanted to be a coach specialized in performance and it's in team performance, in crisis performance, maybe I would have had a physical experience with firemen.
really
Yeah,
interesting,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, because the physical implication involvement.
It's more dramatic even.
Yes, it's more dramatic, and I've got a lot of lessons also from these people, but only
So
lesson.
maybe in the Navy, it's we're normally not in a situation of war, so we have different situations which are critical, but of course the firemen are in war every day
Yes,
because
yes,
there's a
yes.
fire every day.
In the Navy, we were trained to that situations, and we. I was trained in half a boat in Cherbourg. It's not authorized now. It's finished. But at my time, it was half a boat in Cherbourg called Lucifer, and they were lighting real fireworks, etc. And we were
Okay,
doing
okay.
nuggets. It was wow, it was so hard, but it was a school, so
Uh,
that you are getting your all you have off, but that you're protected. But these people, the firemen in real life, they are not protected.
exposed every day. Yeah.
Yes, yes, they risk their lives every day.
I mean that makes sense, and I would like only. I think it will give whoever listens to this video, hopefully a teaser, and encourage you to come to the next video, where we're gonna look a bit more in a detail about the performance of team
Yeah,
in the time of crisis. And but I would like to thank you actually for giving us an insight in your career. But I think you went beyond the insight of the career. You shared with us what you learned and why this was foundational in what you're doing today. And I think my belief, and I'm in cybersecurity, that we have to learn from anybody like yourself, especially maybe from the military or maybe the fireman, when we prepare for cybersecurity incident management. We think it's only about bits and bytes. It's about people who have to manage crisis and may also panic and may also have to perform in a proper way when things go wrong, because while there may not be in times of peace, no human life involved, but the money it can be very big. The impact can be very big, and if you are in a nation state attack, you may even have people involved. We saw attacks on water systems, on energy systems these days. So the future of cyber incidents is much more physical than it used to be. It was only about data and data breaches, but I think
yes,
the it's and what on using American language, it's going to be much more kinetic. They call it in the future, and we have seen in recent attacks attempts by some countries to cause problems, physical problems, in others. So. But again, thank you so much, Emmanuelle. This was fascinating. So I knew a little bit, but thanks for sharing the rest, and looking very much forward to the next video. And thank you so much again.
yes. Thanks, Iggy.